All right, I believe that we are live. Yes. So here I am with actually Robert Shields, Alaska Green Party, or maybe he's moved on. We're gonna see right now. Wait, why don't you introduce yourself? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Robert Shields. I'm calling in from the Denali Lands in Fairbanks, Alaska. I serve as a chair of the Green Party of Alaska and have since 2018. I also work for a nonprofit called the Alliance for Reason and Knowledge, which is about capacity building and community investments. So
Okay.
thanks for coming today.
Well, you're probably the title that people probably recognize you for, besides working with like I think Draft Jesse and other things like big projects people may have heard about. How long have you been part of the Green Party? Just asking really quick.
Well, I was actually very anti-political party up until 2018, and I was given the opportunity to revise the Green Party of Alaska from a box. 2016, I understand that the Democrats in Alaska used the spoiler techniques and basically drove many people from the Green Party out of fear for getting Trump elected, and we saw how well that happened. But I've been active since 2018, and then in 2020, after the whole tobacco with Hawkins in the Green Party U.S., I was reelected. And am now serving my second term.
Okay. Now, do you follow certain particular political ideology, or are you, what is that? If you were to define yourself.
Well, the Green Party values are good, but they're social values. They're not principles. We follow the principles of permaculture, which I identify as a modern interpretation or a Rosetta Stone to indigenous wisdom. If we all learn more about how we work with the land instead of work on it, and work with each other instead of work over each other, I think that our quality of life across the planet for generations to come will drastically be improved. So that was one of the things that we did when I became chair, was we integrated the 12 principles of permaculture into the bylaws of the organization so that they drive our decision-making process going forward, which includes nominating candidates that are outside of our party if we don't have a candidate in our party that's running for a particular seat. It also encourages us to work on civic and economic campaigns, as well as trying to hold back the tide of the corruption we've seen in all the parties. And so that's where we're holding ourselves at now. We had been approached, what we led to understand in 2020, we were approached by the Green Party Ballot Access Committee. And we were told that they wanted to help us get ballot access. It wasn't until after they went through that process and got ballot access that we were informed that we were only given the choice to elect Howie Hawkins. And that was contrary to several meetings we'd had previously. And so we held a vote, and our members in the state of Alaska, basically out of all the candidates, they voted 50% majority that they wanted Jesse Ventura on the ballot. And so we went forward and gathered the materials and got him and Cynthia McKinney on the ballot. And even though there was no formal campaigning in Alaska by Jesse, he came in fourth. And this is out of Biden, Trump, and all the other candidates. And so had he been informed, because there was some communication issues with the Vote Jesse campaign that wasn't actually tied to Mr. Ventura. So we believe that if they had been able to make that connection, he could have very well won in Alaska and could have changed things, but that just didn't happen. And then as a result, even our vice president, Joshua Hadley, was a longtime supporter of the Hawkins campaign, and he quit supporting them after the stuff they pulled, because they would say one thing and do another, and then when they didn't get their way, they tried to get the Secretary of State to throw out our recommendations. They tried to get the Secretary of State to throw me out. And then they've been trying to start up their own little Green Party in Alaska that's basically a loyalist party. So that's where we stand. That's where we've stand today.
Now, the thing is that the Draft Jesse movement got pretty hot for a second. And a lot of the focus was on like him as like a leader, and I also was supporting the Draft Jesse, just so you know, and I appreciate that movement. Since then, I found him disappointing, but no one stays perfect forever, right? Yeah. But the thing is that what you talked about right now, like the problems with the Green Party that happened later on, like causing them basically trying to start their own party, stuff like that. You would think that the news would want to cover some of these particular, significant, things that are happening within the Green Party. Did you ever try to approach the news to get any coverage of these going ons?
Well, there was, interestingly enough, we've had more coverage by the conservative media than we have by the liberal media. And the liberal media just basically wrote us off. They didn't want to, they don't want in Alaska, they do not want the Green Party to exist. So they do everything to minimize our existence, and they don't talk about the Green Party, and they try to vilify the members. And this is what we've seen in the community as well. But my personal philosophy is a lot like Jesse's. I'm a little conservative. I've got conservative values, liberal principles. I have a Democratic platform and a Republican budget to pay for it all. So, there's a little bit, and I think that's where a lot of Americans are. We don't fit neatly into any one category. We're individuals. And I think that the parties really, and I think this is true for all the parties, that they miss that boat. They try to, if you don't fit into this little narrow definition of what we think you should be, then you don't count and you can buzz off.
I actually work with all the parties, Republicans, Independents, Greens, Libertarians, and you're absolutely right. This phenomenon, not only of, ignoring, right, the ground workers, like just in your case, right, you were continuing to address problems in the Green Party, but they had their flash to celebrity, not, Jesse Ventura, which I appreciate his work, but they didn't stay on top of the issue to make sure that the Green Party issues were addressed. So that kind of cycle just went and came and went. And now we see the problems occurring again with the Cornel West campaign, correct?
Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations with people that were associated with the West campaign, and we have been looking at what our best options are going to be for the people of Alaska, not for the party or anything like that. But we were disappointed to learn that after we had one call with their ballot access campaign manager, we were still trying to decide on whether we were going to hold debates. Because we believe that people deserve a choice, and that's one of the things they're not getting from the two-party system is real choice. They're being told that it's either vanilla or chocolate, or your vote don't count, and that is not how we work in a Baskin Robbins world. And so, while we recognize that in order for a third-party candidate to be effective in a national campaign, they need as much time as they can get. We also recognize the need for people to be able to hear from other candidates. And unfortunately, it does seem like what we're seeing from the 2024 campaign for the Green Party is similar to what we see as the 2020 campaign. They pick their champion, they push their champion, and they're pushing everybody else to the side. So we're debating on whether we have the capacity and the logistics to be able to hold some debates and try to narrow down. We've been told that if we hold debates that Cornel West won't, we've been told he can't appear. But we
How
have
do they
found
know that?
I believe the terminology I was given is that it's an insult to Cornel to debate people that aren't serious. I think that was the way that was put.
Wow. Do they have that in an email or anything, or they just told that to your face?
I've had some conversations with individuals that I respect their opinions, even though I don't necessarily agree with them at all times. So I am able to get some insight from folks that have been around for quite a while, but I appreciate their insights and want to preserve that relationship.
Corporate campaign consultants behind the scenes also teach this kind of disregard for volunteers. They're taught to victimize them, take advantage of them, and use them and exploit them for their labor without giving them a voice in the process. Once again, shout out to your work over there. You guys actually had an election to decide, right, who was going to be, the presidential nominee. That's just honoring the process. And really, to tell you the truth, just to play the devil's advocate in this case, right, the fact of the matter is that people get the activists that they deserve. So if you allowed yourself to just watch Jesse Ventura and not keep yourself in contact with what's going on with Robert Shields or what's actually going down on the ground, if you're not actually involved in your local Green Party, because there's problems here in New York too, by the way, If you're not actually involved and seeing what's going on, and you're just trusting whatever the news cycle is telling you, paid for, and you know, by even the independent media is not covering this once again, right? Conservative media likes to see the blood in the water on the leftist side, and who could blame them, right? But you know, it's really our job to really stay involved. So thank you so much for your testimony in this case. And this is an ongoing problem in all the political parties, and the Green Party is definitely not. We cannot be coronating these wealthy elitist individuals without a real conversation. This is absolutely. This should be projected on all the platforms, really, right? Yeah, Cornel West is walking away from democracy and an honest debate. Like, what is this crap? Like, that's not why I'm trying to support Cornel West at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, what their rationale is, or why they think repeating actions that they tried in 2020, which failed, is going to serve them in 2024. Basically, it seems like they just haven't updated their playbook, and they're just going through the motions. And what the motions tell me is that the whole purpose of the Green Party and any candidate they run is not to actually get anybody elected, but just to distract from people. And it's a very sad state of affairs. But I focus on the fact that a great many things have been done in history. Social change has come from people who have no power and hold no office. And Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Gandhi are all perfect examples of how each and every one of us have the power in our everyday lives to be able to make huge contributions to moving our society forward. When we invest our time, when we invest our money, and when we invest the energies that we have for limited passions. And so that's why we focus on civic campaigns like food, energy, and zero waste campaigns, things that are really going to help people become independent. And that the more independent you are, the more able you are to make critical thought. We're concerned that it doesn't matter who gets elected, that the system is so broken that any candidate, no matter how good they are, is going to still have to deal with a broken system. And at this point, here in Alaska, we've got over 1,500 families that have been waiting for 3 months to get state approval for their food benefits. We know that the current ecological crisis is already rearing its head in inflation, and it's going to make it even worse with food. And if you and it's long been held that to lead the people, or to control the people, provide them with food. And so we've always wondered what would happen if the people were able to feed themselves. So that's what we're focusing on right now, is campaigns that empower people to grow their own food, make their own energy. But this is happening outside of politics, because as long as we play in the political realm, we have to abide by their rules that they made to keep us out.
I want to just outline one more time, just to my listeners, right, that this man is actually the Green leader in Arkansas and Alaska. And the fact of the matter is that this is actually, right, he's got a lot of political experience, and what he's saying, I come to a very similar conclusion myself. So I want y'all to really pay attention to what he's saying right here. Once again, he's paying attention to civics education, taking care of his own community, paying attention. He's actually talking about local numbers and figures, what's going on in his community, right? Not like Trump bad or Biden bad, or right, focusing on Cornel West or some celebrity nonsense, right? Really focus on actual progress for his community. We need to start listening to people like this and less of these YouTube commentators who are not really connected in this way to this movement.
Well, I grew up to an alcoholic father, and my education was my way out. But when I got out, I recognized that the system of corruption, the apartheid, this class warfare, which has been going on for decades, has only gotten worse and become more corporatized. And basically, we encourage people to focus on politics and voting because that's the least effective area that we can be. Right now, we have a political system which is trying to drive our economics, which ultimately influences human behavior, which is our society. And that's not how nature works. Our social conditions are what demand our economic solutions, and the policies support that. So we've got, as usual, we've got things completely ass backwards. And I've been involved in politics in one way or another since I was in high school in the student council, and recognize that it's only one of a third of a way to be engaged. and that there are a lot of things that people can do in their own homes, in their own communities, that give them greater power. And the greater power they have, the less control others have of them. So we strongly encourage people to get together, get 5 of your friends together, have a meal. Talk about the most important things that you can do in your community to improve your immediate standing. And we're talking basics like food, energy, shelter. These are all connected. And you can find resources for those outside of politics. But if your only focus is on getting somebody elected or passing some resolution, you're talking about a very slim chance of actually anything happening. And then if it does happen, it's 4 to 8 years before any of those concerns are addressed. And we need solutions that can happen within 30 days. We need solutions that can happen in 7 days. Do you know what a good 7-day solution is? Microgreens.
Actually, I have seeds. Yeah, I actually
Yeah,
plant myself. I'm actually a grower myself. I do grow
yeah.
microgreens.
You can set up to feed yourself on microgreens with just a 7-day shelf. 30 days for lettuce, 60 days for other melons and stuff like that. But the point is that with microgreens, they're short turnaround time. And if you don't have to have much space. I mean, just a closet or a window.
The sunflowers are easy. Yeah, the sunflowers are the easiest.
Yeah, and microgreens are really easy to grow, and there's not a lot of maintenance to them, and they're very healthy. And that's the problem is we are fed food that's not even real food. It's packed full of chemicals, packed full of all kinds of nasty stuff that has never been fully tested on how it interacts with each other. So we get all these allergies. We're all sick. We can't maintain ourselves, and thus we lose our energy to be able to participate and protect.
We're not even allowed to know if the food is GMO or not. We're not even allowed to know. Like, they don't even label it. Like, it's just absurd.
And the only solution to any of this is not some policy. It's not some business leader coming in and telling you how they're going to spend a bunch of millions of dollars. It's the grassroots efforts of people growing in tires, growing in bottles, growing together. That's really going to make a difference.
You know what? So that's an interesting take, right? So now there's people out there. So why are you still involved with the Green Party? Just, if you really have this, right? Which I agree with you, right? I have my own reasons, but I want to hear it from you. What's your reasons are for still being involved with electoral politics?
I'm involved in electoral politics because I believe I have a civic responsibility to hold this line, to serve in this capacity where I can. I believe that a holistic solution requires 3 parts: political, social, and economic. And so what I've been trying to do is to align the various practices along those same principles so we can have a straightforward path to building a system that works for people.
Just so you know, Malcolm X said that if people were good, we wouldn't need laws. The fact of the matter is that culture is really what needs to change first. The fact of the matter is that how people perceive things and how people treat things, and then the laws will change themselves to adapt to fit what people have normalized. So it's really up for us to really, I agree with that. So, having a more mature, a more responsible, a more sustainable future is definitely something that we need to just create a different mindset and revolution as in terms of just our mindset and values. So I appreciate that so much. And, also just, so on the electoral sense, we're actually, in Alaska, do you guys have something called county committee?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, here in New York, I don't know about Alaska, but New York is definitely a blue state. It's completely, Democrat controlled in every aspect. So the thing is that they control the judges, right, through something called county committee, and they also control 1/3 of all elected officials. They backdoor them in through a process called special elections. So the thing is that by having the people in county committee, we can actually, which is only the size of about 2 city blocks here in New York City, we can actually start to share electoral information with each other and actually talk to people that actually vote. And we've collected this data and we've open sourced it to the public. So it might be now, just so you know, in Pennsylvania, the Libertarians took over 200 elected seats now. And the way that they've been able to have this record-breaking thing is by using this maneuver where they actually go to the people that actually vote and have a conversation with them. And they do this on a local basis. So we're actually, this is already a proven technique. And we'd love for you guys to work with us on that. Also, there's someone named Randy Perham. He's a conservative radio talk show host over in Alaska. We worked with him on a nonpartisan project called Unified Plan for 22. So I'll put him in contact with you, and maybe he could also you say conservative. He was also open to having us as part of his program. So I think he'd love to have more conversation with people like yourself. I also had another candidate named Hunky Lee, but he's a little out there, yeah. But I'll send you some videos of my interviews with them so you can check them out. They're Alaska.
Well, I think the biggest opportunity that the Green Party and this whole climate has offered us, and this is something we're exploring within the Green Party of our state, but I believe is true of every American and every human, is what does it mean to be green? What does it mean to be American? What does it mean to be human? I find that questioning our values isn't questioning our values, it's reaffirming what's truth, and holding that truth up to the light of the current time, because what was true in the 1860s simply isn't true anymore. But we still enact laws like we're still in the 1860s. And so we have the ability to have more direct democracy, more direct engagement, but we have to stop sabotaging our citizens and preventing them from being able to provide for their basic needs in order for them to participate. Because if you don't have food, if you don't have a house, you don't care who's in the White House, because you know it's not going to help you at all. Or you don't care who's in Congress. You don't even care who's on your city council, because there's a very unlikelihood that once they get into that position, they're going to be bogged down by an establishment, a system that's been in place for hundreds of years. And they're not, and an individual is not going to change it in one term. They may be able to do something small, which is what most of them focus on, and it's appreciated. But we are at the point where we need a whole system redesign. And that's one of the things that we push, is that everybody talks about, they talk about politics, they talk about society, but they seem completely unwilling to talk about the fact that our economic system is designed to consume us.
We actually have some clear allies, such as the people that we're working with, such as in Pennsylvania, a key swing state where Biden, won the election, right? Because that was the swing state that really kind of decided it. And we have the first man freed on DNA evidence in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania history working with us, as well as someone connected to Mumia Abu-Jamal. His name is Muti. He was actually jailed for longer than Mumia on wrongful incarceration. We also have people in public housing and key allies, not just in Alaska, but also key swing states like North Carolina's, California. So the things that you're talking about in permaculture, just so my co-host from LA, the second largest market in the nation after New York City, is actually she goes by the term Permaculture Mom LA. She's also big into permaculture. Who are the big names in permaculture, by the way? What is his name? Curtis Shields or something? What's his name again? Or Curtis Leaworth? Not Curtis Leaworth, but something name like that. Curtis Stone? What's his name? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah. I think it's Curtis Stone is the big name in permaculture, right?
Well, permaculture is a design science.
Yeah.
My inspirations for permaculture are Gunter Pauli,
Okay.
Roxanne Meadows, Josh Fresco, and that's one of the things that we're pushing is the regenerative economy. The regenerative economy is based on permaculture principles, and a lot of your viewers may recognize it by the term resource-based economy. And that's a concept that was pushed forward by Jacques Fresco about a technological society, but it touches on the core issues that it's a societal issue that we use. It's societal values that we use to determine our economy. And when politics drive our economy, our society suffers. And that's what's happening, because we're making political decisions about our economy that's driving us to division within our society and breaking us down as individuals, and instead of building up the cohesiveness that community used to. It used 50 years ago, 80% of the country grew their own food. Now,
quick question, right? Yeah, I think that you said you're already actually doing these things already, right? Yeah. So the thing is, can you tell me a little bit more about your actual work, right? Yeah, because a lot of people have theories and designs and stuff, right? But they don't have actual working knowledge. Do you have some working knowledge in these particular fields?
Well, actually, you mentioned Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania also hosts in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is a facility called the Bridge Eco Village. Former NFL player Gary Gilliam started this for-profit construction company. They took over a high school and they're converting it into a mixed-use commercial development center where people who are coming in off the streets are getting wraparound services, job training, and in that facility they have housing, they have a vertical farm, and they have services for those people. And basically what we've been doing for the last year, I've been really focusing on driving private equity investments into sustainable community developments and replicating that bridge program. we created a program called the Good Jobs for a Green World program, which is our social alternative to the Green New Deal, because it doesn't require any new legislation to pass. It's all based on existing parameters. But basically, it's just, as I mentioned before, it's a way to drive private investment into capacity building for a community. So we're trying to focus on getting more of these bridge locations in each state in the country, as a foundation for a job training center to teach the next generation of permaculture professionals. What we feel is that there's simply not enough people that are skilled to do city design, food systems, green infrastructure, to be able to mainstream this economy that's been around for eons before Milton Friedman came along and came up with these artificial ideas of the invisible hand.
No, actually, Climate Week just happened here in New York City. And one of the things that we're also trying to do is trying to create jobs for people with disabilities as well. So hopefully those jobs are accessible. And if they're not, then we could find ways to help them be accessible. But yeah, that could be another potential ally, right? And a unique selling program for your plan versus other plans that didn't have time to take care of. And I appreciate once again your background coming from, I also ran away from at the age of 16 myself. I know you've been through hardships yourself. And we kind of like were forced on the system to survive. And I could tell the way that you're attacking the system and creating value right now for people right now. You feel that urgency. And I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's some people that are real comfortable getting 6 figures, just sputtering away, doing very little.
It's yeah. My honor to serve, and I've turned down 6-figure jobs in order to keep doing this, to serve serve our future. Because right now our future is looking kind of bleak, and we need a new system that'll support us. And we may not be able to live in the Star Trek universe, but there's a lot of things that we can learn from that culture on how we treat each other. And ironically, they align very closely with First Nations belief systems. And that's why I define permaculture as a Rosetta Stone for indigenous wisdom. I mean, we're not they're not teaching anything new. We're learning things that have been around for a long time. But I realized that come November, if candidates focus on helping people feed themselves now, not only will they be in a better position mentally come November, but they'll remember who helped them grow their own food. And right now, there's not a lot of people out there talking about, food sovereignty. They're talking about food security, which is depending on the food bank and depending on the system. And as I mentioned early on here in Alaska, we're learning we can't depend on the system. As the folks in Lahaina found out, the government's not coming to save us. So
people. One problem that might not be affecting Alaska as much, though, right, is that, and I know microgreens, they actually require quite a bit of water, right? So I know some states are really dealing with water issues. How's it going in Alaska with the water situation? You guys are okay with that, right?
Yeah, we have plenty. We still have a few glaciers and stuff, but microgreens they use 90% less water than you would use in growing the same crop in a field. Okay. So it's a lot more efficient on many fronts. And it's really easy to set up. There's tons of TikTok videos, YouTube videos, channels that are set up for growing microgreens and stuff. But what we're talking about here is growing our political power. We grow political power by making sure that we are able to meet our basic needs in the here and now. And that is not something we can do as individuals, but it is something we can and are doing as communities.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't vote, but hopefully they can be, they will start to do that together. One thing that's interesting is National Action Network. That's one of the groups that I work with. I work with all the groups when it comes to Republicans, Independents, Greens, Libertarians. They require that all their branches have a youth division, right? Yeah, to help bring up the future. So I don't know if they also have a seniors division as well. But it's interesting to have to really bring up the community, to really educate, right, your kids with the thing is that being Asian American, I got to tell you, right, we were taught to make the boss rich instead of to empower ourselves. That's why you don't know Asian Americans as really anybody. That's the fact is that you need a political education. And what you're talking about, civics education, is really so necessary. And I deeply appreciate the work that you're doing. And thank you for coming on the program. It's one of the most exciting interviews I've had for a while. And there's some definitely exciting ones that I've had, but really appreciate your testimony as comes to what's going on right now in the Cornel West race. A lot of people not talking about. They're coronating Cornel West because they, he's a jolly old figure on the TV screen. Remember that the People's Party, which there's footage of me leading the People's Party and Yang Gang, to Schumer's doorstep, right? Remember that for 3 years they had celebrities, they had thousands of dollars, people supporting the People's Party. Why weren't they able to get ballot access in a single state? And instead, 14 states jumped ship. And of course, we contacted Cornel West and told him about the problems that's going on in the People's Party, but he never listened to us. He only like read the emails of his rich, connected friends. I'm sorry to say that, you know, you can see from reports behind the background that you're confirming right now, instead of really talking to people and being open and honest, right? He's saying one thing and acting another way. Have a debate, Cornel. What is this, man?
Yeah, that's all we're trying to do. Is we recognize what Cornel's trying to do. We're trying to solidify the party early on so that we can have a chance to actually have a presence in this tug of war between the Democrats and Republicans.
He's running from questions from us, from the People's Party, from the 3 years of volunteers that worked together to try to have an active, functional party.
Well, we're going to see what we can do about putting together debates, virtual debates, so they're really easy for candidates to participate in. And if he chooses not to participate, well, that's telling as well. But if he doesn't choose, we know that if he doesn't choose to participate in the debates, we can't nominate him. So if he wants to get nominated, he'll have to participate in the debates.
I like that. That's exactly right. Yeah, you're here for the people, not the other way around. Yeah.
And in 2020, the Green Party of Alaska exercised our ability to put together a presidential campaign or a presidential debates. And we did it with 3 days notice and zero budget. And we managed to get over 5,000 views, and it still continues to tick up. So we were told going into it, oh, well, nobody will show, and everybody showed. Even Howie Hawkins got on. So
oh, wow.
We know what drives people is they want attention, and we're in a position right now where we can provide them with attention. And I'm not making, even as the chair of Alaska Green Party, I am not making the decision. It's not my place to make a decision on who we as a party nominate, and we'll do what we can to provide our members the options and the opportunities, and via the internet, hopefully provide some information to other states about other candidates who are just as viable, just as passionate, just as dedicated as Mr. West.
Oh, I'm going to be sending you some information about some contacts, candidates we've been in contact with, locally and national. And thank you so much. Yeah. Now, how can people, once again, people out there may be watching other news programs, but I'm telling you just the fact of the matter that they're not really covering any of the things that you heard my man talking about today. How can people follow your work, right? That besides following and being part of Alaska, but also you yourself. Who knows how things go with that? Yeah.
People are interested in learning what the Green Party of Alaska is doing here. We have a Facebook page. We're in the process of developing a new web page. Certain individuals in 2020 in other states thought it was a good idea to lock up all the Green Party pages in Alaska for themselves. So we've had to navigate through that. But people can also find me on Facebook under Robert J. Shields, and we have a nonprofit, the Alliance for Reason and Knowledge, which can be found at a-r-k.us. We have our thing right now is we have the solar tour coming up on October 8th, which we are evolving to the Tour of Future Cities. So maybe we can talk about that another time.
Okay, cool. Maybe we could have like a sister event in New York City here, in solidarity or something.
That would be absolutely wonderful, and it's a really simple thing to do. So maybe we should reconvene here shortly and have that conversation. But I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm really excited to meet you, and I'm thrilled to hear about the level of your activism and your work. It's an honor. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, goodbye.